I don't think consumers differentiate between 85, 95 and 90. People only differentiate between 0 and 100.
At the top, there's only room for one, right?
I believe in India, 80% of celebrity usage in advertising that I see is not thought through.
Creating is easy. What to create is $1 million question.
Hi. You're listening to Marketing with Vani, in which I speak to marketing gurus. Together we decode how marketing works in the real world to grow your business. As marketers, we know at an intellectual level that Bharat and India are different. Yet when it comes to execution of marketing plans, we treat Bharat just like a different flavor of the same ice cream. One can't be sitting in a metro, thinking in English, and then translate it to a vernacular campaign. To be a successful marketer, one must understand Bharat, because that's where the biggest consumption class of India lies. This episode is a masterclass on marketing to Bharat with Vinay Singhal, the founder of Stage. Vinay is a two-time entrepreneur who took the contrarian call to not set up his first startup in a metro city. He scaled up a business worth millions of dollars from Indore before seeing it come crashing down. He's building Stage, a vernacular entertainment platform for Bharat, which is fighting it out with the Netflixes of the world by offering authentic content for Bharat.
Thank you, Vani, for hosting me on the show. You've been kind enough to have me here and very humble with the introduction also. I like to believe that I'm a person with a purpose. And I'm trying to build a content company, which is also a purpose-driven company, which is trying to build a premium and sensible content company for Bharat. So the idea is very simple, that we don't have many internet companies which cater to that audience. We kind of left them stranded on the internet. And content is where the first level of interaction this audience has when they come online. So we are trying to solve for that layer and build a content company that really respects them and brings them online in a nice way.
So that's a very big word you've talked about, which is about respecting the audience. So first tell me, Vinay, what is the real Bharat? इसका मतलब क्या है? मतलब हम कई बार इंडिया वर्सेस भारत बोलते हैं, लेकिन हमें इतनी समझ नहीं है. ये real भारत है क्या?
Thank you for asking that, Ronnie, because Tom, Dick and Harry is presenting reports on India versus Bharat and so on and so forth. But I'll tell you my understanding. And because I come from there, I represent Bharat. I know what I'm talking about from own true experiences and not from some Google reports. तो भारत का है ना, सबसे पहला जो misconception जो लोगों के दिमाग में है कि metro versus tier 1, tier 2, tier 3 cities and all. So let me clear that first. भारत का geographical definition से कोई connection नहीं है. It is an absolutely wrong definition that tier 2, tier 3 is Bharat and metro is India and so on and so forth. I think it's a way more complex definition than that, which is based on socio-economic strata and so on and so forth. So the way I look at it is that, and in the context of internet and digital economy, since this conversation is more about that. So 500 million user hai India ke internet pe. Out of that, top 10% is India and the rest everyone is Bharat. Probably you and me both are in that India because of where we are in our life journeys right now. And everybody else is Bharat, right? We need to look at Bharat from a different lens than just geographical definition, and that's what I would define.
That's a very interesting thing you said. If it's a brand for the metros, we pick up the top 6 metros or the top 10 metros, and we pick up all other cities. Everything else is considered to be Bharat. Not realizing that the Saharanpur profile also equally lives in Delhi. Like you said, yes, there is the South Delhi but there is a Saharanpur in Delhi, and equally there is a South Delhi in and Indore as well. And now that South Delhi might not share exactly the same way of thinking, but in terms of how much they might be earning or what resources they have at hand, or even in, what should I say, their ability to adopt new Western practices or new ways of thinking, they might actually be far ahead of a South Delhi or a South Bombay.
I totally agree with you.
Okay, lovely. I know you have this very favorite controversial line of yours, which is about how, English जो हम बोलते हैं ये तो हमारा inferiority complex है.
वो inferiority complex है हमारा कि अगर कोई English बोल रहा होता है तो वो by default हम उसको समझदार, smart, superior समझते हैं, right? क्योंकि हमें डंडे मार मार के 200 साल तक हमें ये मतलब हमारे दिमाग में घुसाया गया है कि अंग्रेज हमसे सुपीरियर है, राइट? एंड विच इज नॉट द रियल केस. इट इज विजिबल ऑल अक्रॉस. हमारी मीडिया प्लानिंग में कह लो, चाहे हमारी पॉलिसीज में कह लो, या हमारी थिंकिंग में कह लो, एवरीवेयर इट इज वेरी मच विजिबल. मैं आपको छोटी सी स्टोरी बताता हूँ मेरे अपने घर की. माई फादर इज नॉट वेरी एजुकेटेड दैट वे, मतलब स्कूल वूल ज्यादा नहीं गए वो. इफ यू वर टू कम टू माई हाउस टुमारो and come for a dinner, sit with us, the moment you will enter my house, my father will not be seen in the living room. He will feel intimidated with you. He will feel very inferior to you because आप पढ़े लिखे हो, because आप आपको इंग्लिश आती है और आप और मैं शायद इंग्लिश में बात करने लग जाएंगे बैठेंगे तो. And that is how integrated it is in our minds that my father is another example, but I think somewhere or the other, without realizing, subconsciously आप मैं हम सब is inferiority complex, and which is why probably India versus Bharat ki definition, English speaking versus vernacular, which is such a derogatory term, we end up using that.
Then I wanted to ask you, we know that small town India, now again I'm saying small town India, but the real Bharat has a lot of ambition. In fact, most of the achievers in our country have actually very humbling small town stories behind them. We know Bihar is still the top churner of IAS officers in our country. We know that, in cities like Ludhiana, which are textile hubs, a lot of the women over there want to become textile entrepreneurs. So there is a lot of ambition in that part of the country. But we as marketers, as the corporate fraternity, are probably still not doing as much to help them realize their dreams. There isn't too much that we marketers are doing. Do you also get this sense that we can do more to partner with them and create meaningful relationships with this audience?
Absolutely, Vani. I think marketers have a much larger responsibility on their head. And so without realizing, marketers actually end up deciding the narrative of content in a country or to a particular audience. So there is absolutely much larger responsibility that marketers had that they should realize. And talking about, the ambition and the responsibility of helping them realize that, let me give you a very unique perspective to content. And it is again my own philosophy. I compare content with nuclear energy. मैं आपको उसका एक अलग perspective देता हूँ कि content और nuclear energy एकदम same है. You have two choices. Either you can create the most lethal bomb in the world, or you can use nuclear energy to create the cleanest form of electricity in the world. Did you know that nuclear energy is actually the cleanest form of electricity in the world?
No, I didn't know that.
Right? Even cleaner than solar and wind energy for that matter.
Wow, I didn't know that.
In a very similar way, like how these are two extremes of the same thing, on depending on how do you apply that, content का भी same होता है. You can use content to exploit people, or you can use content to empower them. All this is an example of how content is being used to exploit that audience. On the other side, you can use it to empower them. You can genuinely use content to change people's lives. You can create information-led content. You can create content that really adds value to their lives and change their lives forever. So I think without going much into details about Wittyfeed, but just say, for example, at Wittyfeed, we realized this, and last year हमने पूरा pivot किया, and we do only information-led content now. We decided that there's too much information, that there's too much entertainment, there's too much dumb content in the market. So let's go ahead and build only information-led content. So just ad series as we do financial literacy show. This is one of the most successful shows that we have on the platform today. We have a health and fitness.
This is very interesting. You are a media content company, and every media company is looking for maximum eyeballs. It's looking for maximum buzz. Now, in all of this, were you not ever tempted to just create controversial, salacious content and get quick numbers? Contracts from corporates, they look for numbers. And the easiest way to get numbers is to do that, what is that Bipasha number song?
There are easy ways and there are right ways. I think I have my heart in the right place, and God has been kind that it has kept me on the right path that way. So we do have numbers, by the way. Wittyfeed has 80 million reach on a monthly basis. You just have to do it the right way. So what we have done is, we have taken information as our base, and we use comedy and satire as our medium to deliver that content. We deliver informative content through satire, so that people have fun while they consume it. We basically do that here in India for Bharat. So Wittyfeed is like a comedy central for Bharat that way. And informative content, but done in a funny and satire-based style.
And I think there is a huge need for something like that. And I don't think even as marketers, we're still aware of how that can be done. Actually, we struggle to create that content because we don't think about it. Agencies say that, those creators are also born of India. They're not born of Bharat. So they're unable to think like that. The other thing that I wanted to touch upon is, of course, there is a lot of ambition, but we also know that there is a lot of money in the real Bharat. I was quite surprised looking at H&S, which is a Swedish apparel brand. They apparently have more than 50% of their stores in small towns. And similarly so for M&S, the British brand. And we also know that, all of these luxury cars are selling more than 50% of their cars are also selling in the small towns. There is money over there. There is ambition over there.
Every time I have a conversation with a client, with marketers on the agency side or clients, they will tell you we are buying capacity nahi hai, buying power nahi hai. And so forth. Indore has the highest number of vehicle density per thousand population basically, right? Haryana as a state, it has the largest number of rural crorepattis in India. Right? If you look at it, actually, I know how our saving mentality बहुत ज़्यादा है वहाँ पे. So they have more money to spend than actually people have in the larger towns. You just have to reach out to them and create value with your product to them. So these are products and multi-billion dollar companies built on Bharat. I mean, you have yourself you had in marketing for one of the Bharat products, right? And I know you shared with me multiple times, how UP and Bihar and Rajasthan were your largest markets versus metros and so on and so forth. I think it's about time that we realize that there is huge amount of disposable income, there is huge amount of, and Gandhi ji ne kaha tha ki India lives in its villages. Respect is what they miss. I think marketers, publishers, startups, entrepreneurs, investors, none of us in our community, which is all India, who has the responsibility to create for Bharat, we don't give that user enough respect to create the right products for them. Let me ask a simple question. Who among us doesn't watch that content? It's just that we never created the premium and sensible and the right kind of content, value-driven content for that audience.
वो तो आप content की बात कर रहे हो, but I'm saying even for the biggest companies, and I can talk about my own experience, even when I was with Pepsi or with Unilever, how many times we really thought audience out? In the sense, because we created for the small nucleus, all that we did was हद से हद उसको content जो हम TV पर ad बनाते थे उसको हम translate करते थे, and we were able to get characters.
That has been one of the biggest reasons why we never created content locally. या हम जैसे मैं आपको छोटी सी चीज बताता हूँ, दंगल मूवी हम सबने देखी है, सारे इंडिया को लगता है कि वो हरियाणवी है. मैं हरियाणा से आता हूँ, वो मूवी देख के ऐसा खराब ही लग गया कि यार हरियाणवी का इतना ज्यादा अपमान तो नहीं करना चाहिए. Content is all about context, है ना? और context comes from locality. Context comes from things around you, the culture that you are in, the kind of people you live in. We have to start, like we mentioned it multiple times, respecting that user and think about at their own local context, at their own hyper local level पे हमें सोचना पड़ेगा content उनके लिए बनाने के लिए. And marketing वो तो दोनों आपस में intertwined है.
In fact, I want to share with you my own little experience on Kurkure. We used to say the cow belt is the biggest market, and उसमें भी Jharkhand, Odisha, Bihar was a very big volume contributor for me. We were unable to crack content that was locally relevant. Other than a 30-second TVC, we were unable to do anything else. And it's not as though anybody is to blame, but we simply didn't understand that. So it's very important to recruit people from there. And I don't know how you do it, but how do you get content that is genuinely relevant to that audience? मतलब वो बंदा वहीं का होना चाहिए, तभी तो वो वहाँ की सोचेगा.
That is true actually. So you have to be very contextual. You have to be very local in your thought process. So we have just launched a new platform called Stage. And we are creating world's first ever OTT in these dialects. And the only way you can crack this, the only way Haryanvi can be cracked is when a Haryanvi guy does it. And the only way Malvi can be correct is whenever Malvi guy does it. Because there's so much context that you don't get it.
Yes,
We understand the nuances of it, and then when we are going to grow from there, we will need a local team at every place. It is not going to happen from a centralized.
Right.
We have to take the marketing to its own local pockets.
I was actually going to come to the psychographics of this audience. But before I go there, I want to tell our audience a little story about you, Vinay, which you were just telling me. You know, when we were talking about this audience and how this audience has there's so much aspiration, there's so much ambition, there's so much, what should I say, raw ambition only in rural India or in the real India. And your story of how you wanted to be the richest man on the planet. Ambition is that from school. So you used to roam around with a little diary and you used to think, so first you Googled and you found, so actually even before that, first you found a computer. And you said, oh gosh, there is this thing called the computer. And then you found the first thing that you actually looked for in that is who is the richest man on the planet. And you found that to be Bill Gates. And you said, how am I going to beat Bill Gates? Gosh, he should be shitting in his pants right now.
I wish. I hope I reach there.
No, but it's a fascinating story, Vinay. And so you used to roam around with this little book and you used to make notes on how I can beat his operating system. And if I could make a better operating system, then I could be a man. I think it's such a fascinating story. This is what makes real Bharat. And this is why all the jugaad, all the innovation, the best ideas come from there. Because there's just, I think strife also requires you to become more innovative. It requires you to come up with solutions that nobody else has. But now on this subject only, Vinay, I want to ask you, how is this audience in its thinking different from the metro thinking, what we consider the metro thinking? मतलब हम कहते हैं ना, in marketing we talk about consumers and we talk about how in consumer segmentation, not only should you think of demographics, you should also think of psychographics.
In the starting of this interview, जो मैं पापा की बात कर रहा था, मेरे पापा की बात कर रहा था, right? Gets intimidated. Most of the products are designed in a way that they go out and deceive them. मतलब they have a huge problem with trusting people when they come to you. Well, I look at my father and I address Bharat. ये बहुत innocent लोग हैं. इनकी and the other one is intimidation, which is again a lot to do with our inferiority complex of English. One of the things, for example, at Wittyfeed we did was जब हमने हमारे shows design किया, हमारा content design किया, तो my mandate to the entire content team was that you have to make a conscious effort to ensure that none of our character looks sophisticated. They should be from somebody from Bharat. Unki story sabki Bharat se. When he's speaking his content, delivering his content, because that is when that guy who's sitting in Allahabad or sitting in Kanpur is going to figure it out. Apne jaisa hai. To apna ladka hai. That is when they connect with that person and they consume that content very easily. The idea is we try and ensure that. Apart from this dokhadari and intimidation, I think the other is what you have been talking throughout this conversation, which is ambition and aspiration. I'll just finish the story that you started about me. For example, मेरे life goal, and मैं बहुत छोटे से गांव से आता हूँ, मैं वहीं पढ़ा हूँ, मैं वहीं बड़ा हूँ, पहले 18 साल पूरी schooling मैंने वहीं से की है. Apart from at that point in time believing that being rich is the definition of success and trying to become the richest person in the world, my life goals today are two. One, I believe that I will become the Prime Minister of this country one day. I have very strong political interests. I believe that politics is one of the best ways to address the problems of a country. And the other one is, just hear this out as well. The other one is that I don't believe that I will die on Earth. I am very fascinated by space. The next company probably I will build will be a space company. And I believe that I will be very important to humans becoming a multiplanetary species. And I will settle on Mars before I leave this universe and I will die on Mars.
You're amazing.
Let me put out the highest form of ambition and aspiration of Bharat in front of the audience.
That is amazing, Vinay. Fantastic. Really fantastic talking to you. I want to ask you one last thing. All marketers talk about virality.
Very valid question and very important question. Everybody is talking about it at that point in time. I think that's not the way virality works now, and especially for Bharat. I believe the new way to go viral is to create value over a period of time consistently in such a way that you turn your audience into a loyal audience for yourself. and in the process establish yourself as a thought leader. And I think virality is much more about value creation and consistency than creating that one-off content piece that goes viral and then nobody remembers it, the next day. Because look at the user's consumption cycle. Every day they are consuming on an average 15-20 videos kam se kam consume kar rahe hain. And when they're watching those videos, each of those videos is dumb entertainment. Most of them are dumb entertainment, right? So how are you going to differentiate yourself? How are they going to remember you? And why are they going to remember you? Which is where I believe that you have to go out and create value-driven content, and you have to create consistently over a period of time, build a long-term relationship with your user, and turn them into loyal audiences for yourself. That's how virality should be approached in a new world.
Actually, what you've said is very, very big, Vinay. The reality is that, going viral is probably easier than creating a long-term property that gets you stickiness over a period of time. How do you make sure that this audience keeps coming back to me and keeps looking for content that would meaningfully engage? Can we teach them something? Can we help them do better business? Can we help them make more money? Can we make their lives easier?
True. Yeah. Which is why I said you have to create consistent value for your users. Not about creating one ad or one video also. You have to do it over a period of time.
Thank you so much, Vinay. It's been lovely talking to you. And I think you are truly a brand ambassador for Cherry Peach Plum as well, because Cherry Peach Plum actually says that you must be able to respect each for what they are. And you've been able to do that. And you are doing that consistently for Real Bharat. I feel so honored to...
Thank you so much, Vani, for hosting me on the show.
And I hope I can take your message of being able to respect Real Bharat to many.
I hope you liked my show. And if you did, please do consider subscribing. I also have a YouTube channel by the same name, Marketing by Vani. Please do check that out too. Thank you.
How badly could she screw up one line? Okay.